The average American vegetable garden produces half a pound of food per square foot per season. A Japanese intensive grower harvests 1.5 to 2 pounds from identical space. That's triple the output per square foot. And here's the system that makes it possible. Eliminate wasted space. Every decision in a Japanese intensive garden is about capturing resources, sunlight, water, nutrients, that conventional row gardens throw away. The forest floor blueprint. Japanese farmers are doing something completely different, and it's why they're achieving triple the yields without tripling their land. Think about a forest floor. Do you see plants spaced in neat rows with bare soil between them? Of course not. You see dense, layered vegetation where every inch of soil is covered, every ray of sunlight is captured by leaves at different heights, and every drop of rain is held by organic matter instead of evaporating. That's a polyculture ecosystem. It's the operating system Japanese intensive growers copied for their gardens. Conventional row spacing equals wasted photosynthesis, wasted water, wasted nutrients sitting in bare soil between plants. Japanese intensive spacing equals continuous resource capture where plant canopies touch. Roots occupy different soil zones, and the garden operates as one interconnected system. Most home gardeners unknowingly choose the wasteful method every time they follow seed packet instructions. When you space plants according to conventional recommendations, only half of your garden space is occupied by productive plant canopy. The rest is bare soil that grows weeds, evaporates water, and bakes in the sun. Your plant roots compete for the same nutrients at the same soil depth, while surface area goes completely unused. The garden interprets this as inefficiency because resources are bleeding away instead of being captured. Permanent bed design. You're probably tilling your garden every spring because that's what everyone does. Here's the reality. Every time you till, you destroy fungal networks that took months to establish. You kill earthworms, you expose organic matter to oxidation, and you compact soil structure. That annual tilling costs you money in equipment rental or fuel, plus hours of backbreaking work, and it produces worse soil every single year because you're destroying the biology that feeds plants. Japanese intensive growers build permanent raised beds once and never disturb the soil again. Undisturbed soil develops fungal networks that transport nutrients and water between plants. Earthworm populations explode because you're not chopping them in half annually. Soil aggregation improves, which means better drainage and aeration without compaction. Intensive spacing strategy. Row spacing was invented for tractors, not plant biology. Those wide rows between your plants exist so machines can drive between them. You don't have a tractor, you have hands. Japanese growers use hexagonal offset planting where each plant sits in the gap between the two plants in the row before it. When you plant lettuce this way at closer spacing, neighboring leaves just touch at maturity. That contact point creates a living mulch canopy that shades out weeds, holds moisture, and moderates soil temperature. You're not crowding plants. You're creating a microclimate where they thrive as a community instead of struggling as isolated individuals fighting for resources. Think about what that does to your productivity. Conventional spacing with those wide gaps produces a handful of heads per square foot. Intensive spacing produces more than double from the same area because you've eliminated the wasted space where nothing grows except weeds. That's not a minor improvement. That's a fundamental redesign of how you're using every inch of ground. Vertical layering system. Single height monoculture captures sunlight at one level and wastes everything above and below. Japanese intensive beds stack crops vertically like a forest canopy. Tall crops like tomatoes or pole beans occupy the upper zone at 5 to 7 feet. Medium crops like peppers or eggplant fill the middle at 2 to 3 feet. Low crops like lettuce or spinach capture light at ground level under the taller plant's shade. Root crops like carrots or beets grow underground where sunlight never reaches anyway. Different plant heights capture different light zones throughout the day. Morning sun hits the east side where low crops thrive. Midday sun penetrates the full canopy where tall crops photosynthesize at maximum. Afternoon shade protects heat-sensitive greens under taller companions. You're not competing for light. You're capturing photosynthesis at 4 different elevations that conventional single-height rows completely miss. That vertical strategy turns 100 square feet of garden into 250 square feet of productive leaf surface. Think about what that means for total harvest weight from identical ground space. Succession planting calendar. Conventional gardeners plant once in spring, harvest once in summer, and leave beds empty for 8 months. That's 2/3 of the year producing nothing but weeds. Japanese intensive growers replant every 2 to 3 weeks with fast maturing crops. Lettuce matures in 6 weeks. You plant a new section every 2 weeks. By week 6, you're harvesting the first planting, while the second is maturing and the third is just sprouting. Radishes mature in less than a month. Plant every week for continuous harvest. April through October. Spinach, arugula, bok choy, green onions all follow the same pattern. Continuous planting means continuous photosynthesis. Living roots constantly feed soil microbes through root exudates. The soil biology never goes dormant. Whereas nutrient cycling never stops. You're not extracting from the soil in one big pulse. You're maintaining active biology that builds fertility while producing food. Conventional gardens produce one harvest per crop per season. Intensive succession beds produce 6 to 8 harvests of fast crops from the same square footage. That transforms annual production from half a pound per square foot to 1.5 pounds without adding more space. Polyculture companion. Gild's companion planting is where conventional monoculture becomes truly self-destructive. Planting entire beds of one crop creates a buffet for specialized pests. Cabbage worms find your cabbage patch and settle in for the season. Aphids colonize your tomato monoculture and reproduce exponentially. Japanese intensive growers plant in guilds where 3 to 5 different species occupy the same bed in specific ratios. The classic Three Sisters combination is corn, beans, and squash. Corn provides vertical structure at 6 feet. Beans climb the corn stalks and fix nitrogen from the air through root nodules containing rhizobium bacteria. Squash sprawls at ground level with large leaves that shade out weeds and hold moisture. Pest insects navigate by smell and sight. They locate host plants by following volatile chemical signals. When you mix 5 different plants emitting 5 different scent profiles, you create olfactory confusion that reduces pest concentration dramatically compared to monoculture. You're not hoping pests leave you alone. You're designing a system where they can't efficiently locate targets. Tomatoes planted with basil, marigold, and carrots produce significantly more fruit than tomato monoculture because the companions repel hornworms, whiteflies, and nematodes while attracting predatory insects that eat the pests that do show up. The mechanism is biodiversity, creating natural pest pressure management instead of chemical dependency. Living mulch effect. Here's where it becomes truly elegant. Bare soil between plants loses gallons of water per square foot per week to evaporation in summer heat. Soil temperature swings from 95 degrees in afternoon sun to 65 degrees overnight. Those temperature fluctuations stress plant roots and slow nutrient uptake. Weed seeds sitting on the surface get full sun and germinate constantly. Japanese intensive spacing creates a continuous plant canopy that functions as living mulch. When leaves from neighboring plants touch, they shade the soil surface completely. Soil temperature stays stable around 70 to 75 degrees. Evaporation drops dramatically because the canopy blocks direct sun and wind. Weed seeds can't germinate in the shade. Stable soil temperature means consistent microbial activity. Soil bacteria and fungi operate most efficiently between 70 and 80 degrees. When the temperature swings wildly, their populations crash and nutrient cycling stops. Consistent moisture means plant roots maintain continuous nutrient uptake instead of cycling through drought stress and recovery. You're not fighting weeds and watering constantly. You're creating a self-regulating microclimate where plants manage water and temperature through their own canopy architecture. Conventional gardens with half their area as bare soil require 15 to 20 gallons of supplemental water per 100 square feet weekly. Intensive living mulch gardens need 6 to 8 gallons for the same production because the system conserves what falls as rain. Path efficiency design. Think about what that does to your total usable space. Conventional row gardens dedicate half or more of total area to paths between rows. A 200 square foot garden plot contains only 80 to 100 square feet of actual planting area. The rest is compacted walkways producing nothing. Japanese intensive beds use the arm's reach principle. Beds are 4 feet wide maximum, so you can reach the center from either side without stepping on the planting area. Paths are just wide enough for a wheelbarrow or comfortable walking. A 10-foot by 20-foot garden space contains 200 square feet total. Conventional rows with wide spacing and wide paths yield 90 square feet of planting area. Intensive beds at 4 feet wide with minimal paths yield 155 square feet of planting area. That's 70% more productive space from the same footprint without expanding your garden. You're not adding land, you're reclaiming wasted walkways. Permanent beds never get walked on, so soil never compacts. Plant roots penetrate deeply instead of hitting hardpan at 6 inches. Deep roots access water and nutrients conventional shallow roots can't reach. A carrot in loose, uncompacted soil grows 10 to 12 inches long. The same variety in compacted row soil grows 5 to 6 inches and forks into multiple twisted roots because it can't penetrate. Every inch of vertical root growth equals more nutrient access and larger harvest from identical genetics. Deep soil building system. Most people sabotage themselves thinking more fertilizer equals more production. Wrong. Synthetic fertilizers are mineral salts. NPK formulations force chemical nutrients into plant roots through concentration gradients. That works short-term but destroys soil biology long-term. Salt buildup kills beneficial bacteria and fungi. Soil structure degrades. You become dependent on increasing fertilizer doses just to maintain yields. That cycle costs money every season in bagged fertilizer for a modest-sized garden. Over 5 years, that's hundreds of dollars feeding an addiction you created. Japanese intensive growers apply 2 to 4 inches of finished compost to bed surfaces annually. Compost feeds soil organisms, not plants directly. No bacteria and fungi decompose organic matter and release nutrients gradually as plants signal need through root exudates. This biological feeding system matches nutrient release to plant demand instead of forcing excess that leaches away. Mycorrhizal fungi colonize plant roots and extend filaments 100 times farther than roots alone can reach, accessing phosphorus and micronutrients in exchange for sugars from photosynthesis. You're not dumping chemicals. You're cultivating a living system that feeds itself. Compost costs less delivered per cubic yard, or zero if you make it from kitchen scraps and yard waste. 1 cubic yard covers significant area at 2 inches deep. That's minimal annual cost for inputs that build soil fertility instead of depleting it. Root zone optimization. Wide conventional spacing seems logical because people assume plant roots compete for the same resources. That's backwards. When you space lettuce far apart, every plant sends roots in all directions, searching for water and nutrients. They overlap and compete directly. Japanese intensive spacing seems tighter, but here's what actually happens. Lettuce has shallow fibrous roots in the top 6 inches. Carrots planted between lettuce plants send tap roots 10 to 12 inches deep. They're not competing. They're occupying different soil zones. The lettuce roots access nitrogen and phosphorus near the surface where organic matter decomposes. Carrot roots mine calcium and trace minerals from deeper clay layers. Add a nitrogen-fixing bean with roots at 8 inches, and you've created a 3-layer root system where each crop feeds from different depths. Wild beans actively add nitrogen that both companions use. You're not crowding roots. You're stacking them vertically like the canopy above. This cooperative root architecture means each plant accesses more total nutrients than widely spaced monoculture where every individual competes with identical neighbors for identical resources at identical depths. Year-round production cycle. Conventional gardening becomes truly wasteful here. Most home gardeners plant warm season crops in May, harvest August through September, and leave beds empty October through April. That's 7 months of dormancy where soil biology crashes, organic matter oxidizes, and the garden produces nothing. Japanese intensive growers rotate cool season and warm season crops for 12-month production. Lettuce, spinach, kale, carrots, and beets thrive in spring and fall when temperatures stay between 50 and 70 degrees. They bolt and die in summer heat. Tomatoes, peppers, squash, and beans require 70 to 85 degrees and die at first frost. Plant cool season crops in March for April to May harvest. Replace with warm season transplants in late May for July to September harvest. Replant cool season crops in late August for October to November harvest. In mild climates, overwinter crops like garlic, onions, and cover crops occupy beds December through March. You're maintaining continuous photosynthesis. Living roots keep soil microbes active year-round. The garden never goes dormant, so biology never crashes and rebuilds from zero each spring. People get stuck saying they only have a small backyard, not a farm. Fair enough. The intensive bed system scales down perfectly. One 4-foot by 8-foot bed is 32 square feet. Built with lumber, that's a reasonable investment in materials. Fill it with 6 inches of compost mixed with native soil. You've created permanent infrastructure that produces for 10+ years. Start with one bed this season. Plant it intensively using hexagonal spacing. Mix 3 to 5 crop types as companions. Succession plant lettuce and radishes every 2 weeks. By fall, you'll have harvested 40 to 60 pounds of vegetables from 32 square feet. Next season, add a second bed. Third season, add a third. You're transitioning one bed at a time while proving the system works.